Thanks for listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Mike Luke, joined by Mr. Ben One White, joined by Mr. John Brogan. Arizona falls in epic fashion to UCLA. This was a major collapse. Guys, at the end of the day, Brogan, we're going to get into all the specifics. Ben One White as well. Just kind of at the point, this team ain't very good. It's just not. Now, there's some reasons that we can definitely get into on this, but right now this team just ain't very good. It's just not.
Yeah, coming into the season, you had your expectation for Caleb Love, 15, 20 points a game. Even if he shoots 42, 43%, he's going to score points. Mm-hmm. You had expectations for KJ Lewis, for Crevis, for Trey Townsend, even Owaka to that matter. And the only player who's either met or exceeded their expectations this year, I would say, is Bradley, clearly. But has any other player on the team met the preseason expectations? Veesaar,
no.
maybe, because there was none. But,
right. Let's see here. All right, now let's talk a little bit about it. Ben, the problem is that, going into this year, Caleb Love, you needed him to be an All-American. He was an All-American last year. He's been a shell of his former self. KJ Lewis, you needed him to take a step back or step forward and look like a first-round pick. He hasn't come close to looking like that. It looks like he forgot how to play basketball. Trey Townsend, who I think we all had a lot of expectations for, Trey Townsend is a turnover machine. I mean, that's where we start. What say you, Ben?
It's just not a very good team. The construction is not good. There's regression in almost nearly every single position with guys, to Brogan's point, that are returning. And I think it really starts with Caleb Love. It's not the same Caleb Love that Arizona fans saw last year. I think at times it's a very disengaged Caleb Love we're seeing, somebody who I think should have the ball in his hands more and should be taking more shots and just hasn't been able to get into a rhythm offensively. Arizona doesn't really have an identity. It's very hard. It's very tedious watching them. You're not quite sure exactly what they're trying to do. And it just seems like every single point is tough to come upon. Last year, you had better guard play. You had Ballo down low. You at least had a flow and were able to establish yourself in games early. But seems like whatever team this Arizona team goes up against, they just have a hard time getting into rhythm. And it doesn't help that fundamentally you're playing really bad basketball on the defensive side. Rebounding is inconsistent at best. I get that you out-rebounded UCLA today, but I think that final play of the game, right, where that offensive rebound goes to UCLA after deciding not to foul them, which is what ultimately lost you that game there when they let up that run and UCLA took a 1-point lead. So just lots of issues, a lot of things that we didn't necessarily anticipate in terms of player regression, and it just isn't fitting very well. So it's just a big mess right now.
And we can get into all of this. And Brogan, I thought you hit the ball out of the park as you normally do in our text message. You're like, listen, man, the end of the day, and there's also things that we need to get into, well, which we will get into, player development, recruiting, but you need Caleb Love to be an All-American. He's a shell of his former self. I would much rather have the Caleb Love that was going that every other game would go 4 of 18, and then he would have a 9 of 22 game, but he goes for 32 points. Right now, every single game, it seems like you're getting 3 of 12. You're getting a passive Caleb Love. That's just not, whatever it is, he's a shell of himself, and they needed him to be an All-American this year.
Yeah, and 100%. And the problem I have with Love, if he were going 4 for 20 every game and forcing a bunch, I would have a different problem. But I can at least respect that. What I can't respect is him going 3 for 10 in a close game, 1 for 7 from 3. The 2 times he attacks the bucket, he gets pretty easy, shots in the paint. And so he has to be more aggressive. Like, we know he can score. He didn't just forget how to score. And so he has to be more aggressive. The problem is he doesn't look like he looks like somebody who got told they have to run the offense and they can only get shots within the flow of the offense. That got turned into that.
Yeah, it looks like this entire, and again, at the end of the day, Ryan Neal, the great Ryan Neal, this isn't exactly who we knew Caleb Love was, because we've seen a different Caleb Love. That's where I'm going to disagree with you. But at the end of the day, this is a passive. It's just not going to get it done. The other one too, I think a big thing that we were looking for is that I think with Arizona, you were hoping that you were going to have an advantage on the wings. Caleb Love, and I think people were hoping that KJ Lewis was going to make that jump. KJ Lewis is, yes, Ryan Neal, I did watch the Clemson game. I also watched the entire season where he was an All-American last season. With KJ Lewis, you were expecting KJ Lewis to kind of take that jump as a guy that was kind of a fringe first-round pick. KJ Lewis looks like he's forgotten how to play basketball, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, the number of turnovers you saw from the whole team, but especially him, just very head scratching. I mean, dribbling the ball. I mean, anytime he would get in the post, even if the defense wasn't pressuring him a whole ton, it seemed like there was a turnover or just some sort of miscalculation. I mean, he looks lost out there. And that's really unfortunate, because those three wings are going to determine in a roster like this how successful you are. And when you have Love playing, right, like a shell of himself, being inconsistent, being passive, not being aggressive enough, you have Lewis, who doesn't even look like he belongs in a starting lineup. But with the way the roster's constructed, I don't know there's really a lot you can do about that right now. And then Bradley, who is giving you, the flow of things, right? He runs the offense. He forces some steals. He's able to get to the hoop, get to the free throw line.
Bradley's fine. I got no problem with Bradley.
I got no issue with him, but those other two, where the majority of your scoring should come from, you're just not seeing it. And, it didn't help that Krivas was out. Granted, Krivas has regressed as well and has had his challenges, but you would at least think in a game like this, that'd be, game plan number one, to get the ball inside to him for some easy points. Veesaar at times, I thought, especially in that first half and even early in the second half, played well, but he kind of fell off a cliff as well. So
yeah, we need to talk.
I just thought Arizona didn't really have the advantage, that they're used to, that we've seen the last couple of years of going down low and getting those easy buckets. And when you're able to do that, it obviously opens things up for these guards to score points, and that just hasn't happened.
And we need to talk about Veesaar. I thought Veesaar did some very good things out there. It's funny. I called Brogan probably about midway through the second half, and I'm like, yeah, this is a difference maker. And then he shot at least 2 threes, and maybe it was a third one. That to me was just kind of like, what are we doing here? That was where it just kind of, everything just kind of collapsed. I don't know if it felt like Tommy needed to call a timeout, honestly, because you could kind of just see things, Brogan, just kind of devolving in front of you at that point. I mean, Henry's wide open for a reason. And like you said on the phone, I'm cool with Henry taking 1 3 a game, but you got to make it, or it's got to look good. I can't have you then shooting 2 or 3 threes in the last 6 minutes of the game.
Yeah, I can't blame Henry for this, because
no, I don't blame Henry for it.
Well, no, I'm saying he played 26, 27 minutes, which is the first time in his career he's ever played that much. He was out of gas at the end of the game. Mm-hmm. And so I don't blame him for that. I mean, they were up 13. UCLA goes on a 15-17-2 run, whatever it is. He took a couple bad shots in there, sure. But this comes down to this team just can't shoot. They can't. So all of a sudden, everything is much harder when defenses can trust the fact that you can't make threes. And so their buckets are hard to get. And that's why they've scored, 54 points today. Even with a 13-point lead, you can't go, I think, what they go, 8.5, 9 minutes without a single field goal to finish the game. Yeah. And so offensively, this team was supposed to be good. Townsend was supposed to be an offensive force. Love was supposed to be an All-American type offensive player. And they just can't score. They can't shoot. Right. Offense is always going to be hard. But I put more of the onus on Tommy than the players, because he runs his system. He runs his motion offense. And the players we don't shoot good enough. We don't space the floor good enough. We don't do any of those things, where he's going to have to mix it up. And we're going to learn a lot about Tommy, the X's and O's guy, the rest of this season, because he's going to have to mix some things up for them to get creative on offense to make up for the lack of shooting.
And the thing about it too, Ben, is that you don't have the Pac-12 to be able to get the Oregon States, the Washington States of the world. That's just kind of where we're at, Ben.
You're certainly being thrown into the fire, right? And it started 3 or 4 weeks ago with Duke, and it's only going to continue. But again, right? I mean, I think it goes back to, there's got to be some changes offensively, but at the same time, how much of this is just roster construction and the fact that the players aren't as good as we thought or as good as people anticipated them. And you got regression on top of that. And just ultimately altogether, it just seems like they don't fit very well. So I don't know how much more you can really do outside of maybe Love being more aggressive and being the Caleb Love that we've seen, and Jaden Bradley continuing to take steps. I guess if those two guys kind of solidify themselves and put Arizona back in games, right, we're going to be okay offensively. But outside of that, you know, I think Townsend kind of is what he is. Del Orso is a guy who can come off the bench and give you some threes and make some buckets when you need them. But again, I still look at, you know, that 4-5 spot, and I see what Arizona's working with, even with a healthy Krivas, and I don't love that front court at all, and I think that's going to handicap them.
Yeah, and that is definitely going to handicap that. Now let's see here. Let's see here. All right. I just don't, like I said, there's just a lot of problems. There's a lot of problems. And like you said, Brogan, this is going to be something where you're going to find out a lot about Tommy's and X's and O's, because he's going to have to scheme a lot of this, because right now, like I said, right now, this team just isn't, it's just not good. There's no other way around it. This to me was the line in the sand game. You had to win this game. Don't care how you did it. You had to be able to win this game. And you just choked it away. There's really no other way. I mean, you showed some nice aspects, but you choked it away at the end.
Well, and UCLA had 14 turnovers, shot 43% from the free throw line, 19% from three, and still won. And
Right.
So to me, it's not so much that, you know, if UCLA would have shot 60% from the field, made 23s, you know, pulled to Wisconsin and shot 158 free throws, I could at least look at that and be like, well, okay, like some
Right.
crazy stuff happened. But the fact that UCLA played so bad and we still lost, I think is a
Right.
direct reflection on the team has a ton of flaws. Offensively, can't shoot. And the reason why I keep coming back to shooting is because the backcourt was supposed to be the strength of this team, offensively
Right.
and defensively. I can't put too much pressure on the bigs to carry the team, because that's not how the team was constructed. That's not how they were going to be winning at the beginning of the season. But the fact that the backcourt outside of Bradley has been inefficient and they can't score.
The backcourt's been bad. I mean, there's
all in my mind, it all comes back to Love and Lewis not making the jump, and Love just being a shell of himself at this point.
Exactly. Now, there is something that they could consume to maybe get them back feeling good about things. Ben, you're a cool kid. How much NUTRL do you drink during the off season? I could see it in you. How much do you drink?
During the offseason, how about right after this game, my friend?
I was going to say Ben One White. You probably have some NUTRL with you at this point. Is this fair?
It's a possibility. Yeah.
All right, now NUTRL is from St. Louis, Missouri, just like Caleb Love. Maybe Caleb Love's indulging in a little too much NUTRL before the game. I'm just kidding. But either way, check it out. NUTRL, my friends. Keep it tasty. Enjoy responsibly. 2024 Anheuser-Busch NUTRL, flavored vodka and carbonation, St. Louis, Missouri. Our good friend Kevin L. Thomas in the background drinks NUTRL. This is true. Check it out. NUTRL. Also, Circle K. I do wonder if this team, they've been kind of out of whack. I know that they were going to Circle K's before the season. How much do you guys, Ben, honestly, how much do you put this on maybe a lack of Circle K in their life?
Well, I mean, we got to try something. So, I mean, very, very well could be the case. Perhaps they should go to the one on 6 before they play, I believe, Central Michigan next week. So
exactly. Yeah. I mean, again, get back on the winning track, again, either way, check it out at Circle K. I'm going to disagree with you there, Ryan, in a second. Join Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. Okay, now listen. I know everybody hates Tommy Lloyd right now. I get it. All of this. But I'm going to disagree with something here. Let me find Ryan Neal here, the great Ryan Neal. Hold on. Basically said that Tommy's not as good as his record because he was in the worst Power 5. Here's where I disagree with you on that. Tommy Lloyd destroyed it out of conference. Let me look at it last year. You went into Cameron and you beat Duke. You beat Alabama. We went to the Final Four. You beat Michigan State. I can go back the previous years. You won the Maui Invitational. So if he had struggled out of conference, I could maybe agree with that. But I can't really agree with that because he's got a pretty long out of conference track record of being pretty good there, fellas.
Well, if we fired every coach who had a bad 9-game stretch, Coach K wouldn't have made it his entire career at Duke.
Right.
Jay Wright wouldn't have won all the titles at Villanova. Like, you can't just judge a coach on a few games. Is the roster construction bad? Sure. Did Townsend end up being bad coming out of the portal? Yes, but Townsend was a highly regarded transfer portal prospect, one of the top ones in the portal. And so, sure, the roster construction stinks. They don't defend as well as we thought they could. They don't score as well as we thought they could. But in the end, Tommy's got 20 more games. I still think Arizona's a tournament team. The Big 12 is top heavy. They're not going to have easy games like you do in the Pac-12 where you can go, play a bad Cal team or ASU in their bad seasons. But Arizona's still going to win more games in the Big 12 than they lose. They're still going to make the tournament. We just might end up being a 6, 7, or 8 seed instead of a higher seed.
Yeah, we'll find out. Now, there are some real concerns here that I think that we need to talk about, though, when it comes to recruiting. Listen, at the end of the day, when it comes to the transfer portal, I think Lloyd is really, really good. But the international recruiting's not been good. I mean, you've been here 3 years, and we're really grasping at stuff to look at somebody, and you could say, well, guys became better elsewhere. That's fine. That doesn't mean anything for me here. This is something that surprised me. And I'm a Tommy guy still. I know that all these people, I trust me, I understand. It's probably, I get it. But I'm a Tommy guy. But one thing that has really surprised me is his international recruiting has sucked. I mean, there's really no other way to put it. Henry is maybe showing that he could maybe be the first kind of good one that's contributed here. But guys, that's something that I didn't see. I thought he'd be a good international recruiter. That surprised me.
I mean, go ahead,
Brogan.
He was regarded as the best international recruiter in the country. Murph was one of the top assistant, foreign recruiters in the country. But when you look at it, Sean Miller has a significantly better track record recruiting foreigners than Tommy does. Yeah. I think part of that, though, is some coaches just have a knack for identifying talent. Jed Fish, great at it. Miller, great at it.
Tommy was good at it, yeah.
Tommy, still yet to be seen.
Right, exactly. Let's see here. Stop with the Tommy is good against out of conference. Hey, can you bring that back up, Kev? Angel CC. Stop with the Tommy is good out of conference talk too. He is now 8-7 against other Power 4 conference opponents in out of conference play. I mean, I can come up with a lot of wins that I can. I mean, this year he's 0-5. I mean, but I'm going to count the whole thing. For the previous 3 years, he was really good. So yes, this year it's been terrible. But I mean, if you want to factor that in, yeah, of course. But the previous 3 years, he's really good. Also, one other thing that we need to say that I don't get why people keep saying this. He keeps saying it was all done with all of Miller's players. No, there were no Miller players last year. None. Literally zero. No Miller players whatsoever. So I don't really get that talking point. And Arizona finished, I believe, and I could be wrong on this, but I believe Arizona has finished the out of conference schedule going into Pac-12 play in the top 10 every single season under Lloyd outside of this season. So I don't know that we can sit here and say that he hasn't been good against other teams. Guess that's not really what I was thinking that I was going to debate. But, at the end of the day, though, like Jake said, this is on Tommy. You're a head coach. You're getting paid a lot of money. This is on Tommy Lloyd. Now, a lot of coaches have a second, what's the second? A second edition or second rendition? I don't know what that term is, whatever. Tommy, it's going to be up to Tommy. Listen, this team's not going to go far this year. I think that's fair to say. But this season, this is going to be kind of a, this is going to be a little bit of a, I think a real, kind of a crossroads make or break type situation. But again, I still like Tommy Lloyd as my coach. But this team, it's fair to say this team's just not very good, Ben.
Yeah, and again, like it's going to happen more and more in the new era of college basketball we're seeing with NIL and transfer portal. Like you're going to miss on guys, and it's just one of these years where you lost a lot. I mean, you lost Pella Larson, you lost Keyshawn Johnson, you lost Ballo. I mean, those three guys were so crucial to what you were doing last year offensively, and the replacements just are not up to par to what we were accustomed to seeing last year. Is that on Lloyd? Absolutely. But at the same time, we're still early in the season. It's a weird stretch. And again, right, when we talk about roster construction and how do you fix that moving forward, while I don't think it's the most fixable thing per se in terms of, is Townsend going to get magically better overnight? I don't think so. Some of these players that have limitations, are they going to get a lot better? I don't know. But I just think with the way the roster is constructed to begin with, a lot of it is predicated on how those guards play. And you've got to have some hope and optimism knowing you have somebody like Caleb Love on your team. He's played as poorly as we've seen in quite some time. And it's just
this is the worst that he's been here. I mean, like
easily. Yeah. And I'm talking more so maybe that towards the end there at UNC where he was just not good. But my point is, right, you're 1-2 games away from him getting into a rhythm, Bradley continuing to grow. And then maybe we start having the conversation about, okay, yeah, this Arizona team can shoot. They can be consistent offensively. But again, it starts with Love. It's got to change.
Okay, now I'm asking Mike, you can't think that – hold on a second. I'm getting confused here. Mike, you can't think that Tommy has won back-to-back conference championships? I think he has. I'm not.
Yes, we were there for both of them.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I believe that he has. So yeah, and again, here's what I'm going to say, and I don't want to get caught up in this. Last year's team was better than his second year's team. I don't care about the losses. Last year's team was better than this second year's team. The second year's team had like one guy that could really do anything. Last year's team was better than his second year's team, period. I don't know what else to say on that one. All right, now let's talk about a guy that I was clearly wrong on. I'll take this one on the chin. Trey Townsend. We're just going to go kind of player by player. Townsend, just not good, man. Like there's two things that have surprised me about Townsend that I did not see. This being the case. I thought he would be able to get rebounds. He doesn't get rebounds at all, which that part surprised me. He's a turnover machine. That's the thing and it's always weird turnovers too. Like there was the one where he dribbles it out of bounds, or somebody comes in and he dribbles it off his foot. It's always weird turnovers, but at the end of the day, he turns the ball over all the time. I don't really, and the offensive rebounding for this, or the defensive rebounding for this team isn't good, and I think that's probably somewhat indicative of him as well. Brogan, these things surprised me about him, I'll be honest.
Yeah, and we expected him at a bare minimum. I don't think we expected him to come in and average 10 rebounds a game because he's an undersized power forward, but we expected him to be able to score 15 points a game. Like what he did at Oakland, what he did in the tournament against NC State, against Kentucky, like that's what we expected out of him. And instead we get, 4 for 8, 9 points, whatever. And in big games, this team, I keep coming back to, if they need a bucket, it was supposed to be Caleb Love. It's sort of Jaden Bradley, but that's not really his game.
Jaden Bradley's more of a jack of all trades that you want to be a defensive pest. And quite frankly, he's done that. I mean, you look at his numbers today, 14 points, six steals, 5 rebounds. I mean, Jaden Bradley is one of the few guys on the team that I can't complain about.
And he does get his buckets in crunch time, but that's not his role, right? That was supposed to be Caleb Love. We were hoping it was Trey Townsend, but it's neither of them. And so the team again, we don't have an identity on offense, can't really shoot, and there's nobody who can get buckets late in the game. That's a bad recipe for close games for sure.
And I think what's concerning about it is that last year Caleb Love was that dude. Make or miss, he was going to be the guy that he's going to take that shot. He's going to get those free throws. He might not make them, but he was going to be that guy that was going to take those, Ben One White, and that has just not been the case at all. And that one to me is flummoxing. We'll get to KJ Lewis in a second, but that's still the one that it's just. You know what's weird about Love? It's like last year we always talked about how he had the irrational confidence, that it didn't really matter. It was kind of and again, I'm not comparing him to Kobe Bryant, but it was very much of the, man, I'm 1 of 18, but guess what? Those next 10 are going in. That's gone. That's gone. You watch him now, none of that's there.
You knew exactly where he was on the court every single minute of every game, and there are stretches where you even wonder if he's even on the court. I think you look at that second half, going back to the point about Bradley, like Bradley is the reason why Arizona got back in this game. Like he set the tone defensively. The team started getting in some passing lanes. They forced turnovers. UCLA started fouling. Granted, the officiating was really odd in this game. Right. So I kind of go 50-50 on that. But my point is, right, when you're able to kind of create the momentum that you did today, and Bradley's got the ball and he's looking for somebody, how many times is Caleb Love just standing, at the left wing corner, not really doing anything? There's no motion. There's nothing to really get him involved. And, I think that obviously starts with him. Like, I don't see him hounding or chasing for the ball like that aggressive player that we're used to seeing. It's very interesting to watch. And I don't know why, because with the way this roster is and going into this year, the identity and what this team was supposed to do offensively was all predicated on Love and those guards, but more so Love than anybody. And there are just stretches during the game where Arizona needs to get going. They need a bucket, or they just need to establish some sort of level of consistency on offense, and it just seems like he's nowhere to be found at times. It's puzzling.
You made this point too as well, and Brogan, and people are making this. The other thing that I don't like about Caleb Love, and we're going to get to KJ Lewis in a second, is the body language. Like you said, I think it was, I don't know if it was the preview, if it was last game or the game before, you're like, man, he looked disinterested out there. For a guy, and he's not making 800,000. That's not how much he's making.
900,000. But yeah,
no, he's not making 900,000 either. I can very much assure you of that. But for a guy that's making a lot of money, I can't have you be disinterested. I just can't. Because that trickles down. That trickles down to the entire team. Whereas, well, that guy's supposed to be our best player, and he's just kind of going through the motions. That to me is that's been concerning, and it just kind of Brogan.
Well, and he has one role, and that's like nobody's expecting him to be a lockdown defender, hustler guy. Like we got KJ Lewis, we got Bradley, we got that. He's got one job, and it's to score. And when he's jogging up and down the court, not really wanting to run back on defense, getting the ball and quickly passing it, not really trying to create anything, it's not a scenario where you can bench him, because there's a whole bunch of politics that comes into play when you start benching certain types of players and things of that nature. But even benching him, cool. Then we score 60 points a game because we don't have anybody else on the team who's a natural scorer. So the answer is trying to figure out how to get Caleb Love going and how to get him back to being that 18, 19 point per game guy. But he's going to have to take some of the onus on himself and show some want and some like motivation to do it, because without him caring, it's going to be hard for him to get fired up for every game and score 20 points a game for us.
All right, now we've got 320 lives in here. I will say this, and Brogan and I have, now I'm going to disagree with you, Bridge Tech Communications. Very much like you, by the way, but Bradley Love and Lewis are the same player. I'm not putting Bradley in that. Lewis and Love are not different, or Lewis and Love are not difference makers defensively. They're not even good rim attackers right now. So like I said, Jaden Bradley, I'll give, I'm not going to put in that class. What say you, Brogan?
I mean, none of them are good shooters, true. But basketball is like 700 things, and shooting's one of them. So are they good shooters? No. But does Bradley do like 43 other things that impact a game in a positive way, which makes him an awesome player? Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Lewis does different things on the court as well. We didn't think we were going to need Lewis to score, and that's just not his job. Like he should be 7-8 points a game. And we can't, if he's got to score 15 or 20 for us, we lose every game because he's not. You
know what's odd to me about this entire thing though with Lewis, Ben White is, and you know what? Before we get into Lewis, let's talk about something that I think maybe we haven't really talked enough about. Branded bills. All right, now John Brogan, this hat. It's a fantastic looking hat that you have. It is not branded bills though.
No, it's not.
Would you lie to me and tell me that it is branded bills just for the sake of this read? Look at that. It
could be branded bills. There's no logo or no.
Maybe it's Brogan bills. How about that? Yes, Brogan bills. Yes, exactly. Branded bills, though. Be like our, not like our good friend John Brogan. And head to brandedbills.com and use code PHNX for 20% off your first order. Ben White, you have a branded bills. This is true.
I do. It's in the other room. I forgot to grab it.
Yes, exactly. Now, either way, check it out. Branded Bills, my friends. You will thank me later. Head to brandedbills.com and use code PHNX for 20% off your first order. All right, now, here's the other thing, too, that I think a lot of people are missing out when it comes to Arizona athletics. Everybody's wondering. They're like, hey, wait a second here. Arizona's got no offensive line for next year. What could they possibly do? They're not going to be able to get anybody good. Guess what? Maybe you line up 5 Sanderson Fords. That's what I've been saying from the very beginning. Put 5 Sanderson Fords out there. Sure, you might get charged with something like vehicular manslaughter, but who cares? Because, again, you'll have 5 Sanderson Fords, and you just stack them up at midfield. Now, Benwin White, you're always driving around in something really fancy. You're always in, like, your Prius or your smart car or, if you're scouting tight ends. But, Ben, would you ever would you ever drive a Sanderson Ford?
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. Now, that's the thing. Benwin White would do it. If it's good enough for Benwin White, it's good enough for all of us. Our good pal John Brogan does not have one. Maybe that's also why he's not wearing a branded Bills. Either way, check it out. Sanderson Ford's got all kinds of really good stuff going on, though. Get your new 2024 F-150 trucks with 3.9% APR financing for 66 months. Plus up to $4,000 cash back, similar savings on over 900 new and pre-owned vehicles on the lot. Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit then about, we got Erika L. Day here. Let's talk with Erika L. Day for a second. Hello, Erika L. Day. Let's add Erika L. Day to the chat.
Hey, guys, I brought a friend.
Oh, hello, Matt Reynoldson. Hello, how are you doing,
I don't
Matt
know if you guys can hear him, but he just wanted to say hello.
Yeah, hello, Matt Reynoldson. How are you doing? Are you keeping an eye on
Yeah, it's my bad. I thought having him here might, motivate you to put me on the show sooner.
Well, duh. I mean, yeah.
Duh.
Yeah. Erika, what were the... No, not at all.
Oh, darn. Okay, they can't hear you. See you next time.
Yeah, TTFN. What are the vibes there, Erika? What did the Tommy gun have to say?
I'll be honest, the vibes here were not good. And I want to start off by saying this. I had to sit through UCLA's press conference before we could get to Tommy and Jaden and Henry. And it almost made me angry how likable Mick was in this press conference, because he talked about how, the tougher team, the team with the most grit, and at the end of the day, the team with the most confidence is going to win these close games. And he's absolutely right. And that is something that Arizona has clearly lacked through these 11 games of the season, is confidence. And you see it in these big games, and it's been a telltale sign for a loss. I have a little clip ready of Tommy talking about, if they're going to lose games together, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, they have to stop losing these close games, and they have to stop bombing threes toward end of games and giving away leads. It's got to stop. And he's well aware of it, and he said it.
Let's hear it.
Perfect. Maybe Kevin doesn't have it.
Yeah, the clip is actually processing right now.
My bad, Kevin. My bad, Kevin.
We can get to it later. All right, Erika. Does he? I was going to say, Mick Cronin, the little guy. What did the little guy have to say?
Like I said, it was just borderline infuriating how likable he was in this press conference. He believes in his players. He was, like I said, he really spoke and preached about confidence being the winner of the game for them. Kevin just texted me that this clip of Tommy is ready, so I'll wrap up talking about Mick real quick. But like I said, and I've preached about this since the summertime, since the off season, and women's basketball, and how important confidence is in these games that are supposed to be close. And this was exactly that, a close game that they desperately needed some confidence for, so that they could hit shots late in the game, and they just couldn't get it done.
Yeah, we're battling. It's not coming easy. We're not gonna act like everything's going great and we're expecting everything just to flow together naturally. No, we're gonna have to fight for it. This streak's gonna have to fight. For one, you're dealing with some adversity. And where's our confidence at? And do we have our certainties kind of in our back pocket? We're gonna have to keep fighting for that and kind of establish that. Sometimes it's not far off. I thought, in that second half, we built, a 10, 11, 12-point lead, something like that. I thought it felt pretty good, and it felt like, how we wanted to feel. And, I looked up at the clock and knew there was a lot of time left, and I'm like, hoping we can make another little run. And so maybe we have a little more of a buffer to sustain a comeback from them. But, it wasn't in the cards today. And, I'm sure I'm going to go back and look at that thing. There's going to be some coaching miscues. There's going to be some situations in which the players are just a little bit tougher. But all in all, I think the most important thing is, and I know this is a cliche, but we got to hang together. We got to hang together. Just because it's tough, we can't splinter.
Yeah,
Mike.
I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, here's the thing. There's really nothing you can say in situations like that. We all know what we saw, I mean, and I don't know, Brogan. I just don't know in situations like that. I don't know what else you can really say. I mean, it's, you know.
Well, and the bottom line is Arizona lost this game. UCLA didn't win. UCLA played terrible. So,
Right.
like, for Mick Cronin to be like, oh, we're so tough and we did all these things. No, you missed a million shots. Arizona just turned the ball over and couldn't put the ball in the basket late in the game. And
Right.
so, sure, should Tommy's teams be tougher? Yeah, okay. Like, they were taking the ball from us in the first half. They fixed that in the second half. Just couldn't score. Like, the bottom line is Tommy's going to have to be better about putting the team in positions to score. He makes the comment about we shot too many threes late in the game. That's on him. It's not on the team. That's the level of freedom you give the players. But they had a set call to Townsend to open the half where he gets an easy layup. And then we don't see too many other specific sets on offense. It's all that free flow motion and expecting the players to make a play. Only Bradley was executing. He's going to have to figure out a way to call a set, something designed to get love shots, to get something easy at the rim late in games, or they're going to have droughts where they don't score, and it's going to be hard to win games like that.
I mean, that's just really the way it is. Go ahead, Erika.
No, I was just going to say, we could talk about that late near turnover from KJ where he had to call the timeout to keep the possession and being a turning point in the game. But at the end of the day, like Tommy said, like he saves the timeouts for the guys. And so if like the guys are going to waste the timeouts like that, you can't blame the lack of timeouts late in the game and to be able to stop the run. Like you have to be able to stop a UCLA run like that. And they weren't able to get that done today.
Yeah, it's really that simple. Miss Erika Aldao. Oh, we got a $5 super snap from Gringo Billy. Arizona athletics, bad and boring. Stay up, Arizona fans. Hey, we've been through this before. We always joke about it. Nobody said back in the A would be easy, man. There's good times, there's bad times. Guess what? It's not all fruit. It's not all fruits and creams. It's not all Sanderson Fords cruising down the highway. Sometimes you hit a little bit of a road bump. Hello there, Saul Bookman. It just is what it is. That's that's sports. All right, Miss Erika Alday, we very much appreciate you. Snazzy little outfit there. Salute emoji, TTFN. Ta-ta for now.
Hasta luego.
Yeah, hasta la pasta. All right, Ben One White. You are back, Ben One White. What did you think about that presser from Mr. Tommy Lloyd?
Well, it's the life we chose in terms of backing the A. It's not going to be easy, so I will say that before that. But look, I mean, that's Tommy, right? He's always going to be a kind of even-tempered guy. He's not going to lash out or say anything. And, the bottom line is he's the coach. Like, he knows exactly what needs to be done to fix the situation. I don't think there's really anything you can say in that situation to make things better. But again, it goes back to everything we've talked about on this show. Arizona's got to find a way to get something going offensively, find some sort of identity. And when you've got somebody like Caleb Webb on your roster, you got to make it happen that way. I don't really see another path beyond getting somebody like him going consistently, just because of the challenges that we see across all the other positions. So, I mean, that's the bottom line. Arizona could have absolutely won the game today. They did not, because they missed shots and they let up the run that they did. UCLA had there late in the second half, and they played as poorly as you could possibly imagine. UCLA played like crap too, but ultimately, whoever was able to make shots at the end won the game, and that's what happened.
And like you said, too, at the end of the day, Henry shooting threes, I'm not putting that one on Henry.
No.
Yeah, but I'm also not putting that one on Henry, man. It's like, Ben One White is out there, and he's, he's backing his guy into the paint, and he shoots the shot. I don't necessarily blame Ben One White for that. I blame the coach for
against John Brogan, yeah, but against you it might work. You never know. So.
Was that a height? Oh, Ben One White, that was not that Ben One White. That was mean. Hey, you guys want to hear a funny story about me and John? I almost said John Brogan. John Brogan playing. Here's the thing. So I lit up John Brogan one time, 27 points against Mr. John Brogan. But John Brogan decided that he had to show me who was boss one time. So he gets the ball in the post, basically backs me down, throws me to the side, and lays it up. And then he helps me up in the most condescending way ever, John Brogan. That was a jerk move. That was a jerk move, John Brogan. But yes.
Sometimes in basketball, you have to do what you have to do.
If you can't run with the big dogs, stay on the porch. How about that?
Stay on the perimeter.
Yes. Yep. All right. Now, moving forward then, you got Big 12 play coming up here. It's not going to get easier. But I honestly, I don't know what to say, because some of the things I just didn't see certain players regressing in the manner they have, and I just don't know what's in their head at that point.
Well,
by the way, By the way,
Go
your
ahead.
good pal Dick Wilson, aka Yogi Wilson, or what'd you say his name was?
Yeah, you
Richard
got it.
Wilson. Yeah,
You got it
Yogi
right.
Wilson.
All the above. All the
Okay,
above.
Yogi, aka. All right, yeah. Okay, go ahead, John Brogan.
No. I was just gonna say to Dick Wilson's point, that was the younger version of me, which was the faster 3-point shooting version. And now my older me, I'm a little more of a different player now. But just coming back to the game, UCLA knew what it wanted to do down the stretch on offense, and that was run the ball through Bilodeau, the entire offense through Bilodeau on the block. And if Arizona wasn't going to double, wasn't going to do something to affect him, he was going to go one-on-one to shoot shots. And unfortunately for Arizona, they were a whole bunch of 4 and 5 foot turnaround jumpers, jump hooks, whatever, and he converted shots. Come down on our side of the floor, and there wasn't any clear thing that Arizona was trying to do. It wasn't isolate Townsend in the short post. It wasn't get Love in a high screen and roll. It was run around the court, throw to the big, dribble handoff, screen and roll, whatever, until Bradley tried to go make a play. But it's too predictable. Like, they'd been doing the same thing the whole game. And so UCLA's defense was ready for it. They were 2 for 16 from the 3-point line. And so at this point in the game, UCLA had kind of figured out, like, we can help out in the paint a little more than maybe normal because they're not hitting threes, and kind of take away any easy buckets and made it hard for Arizona to score. But again, I get back to the point on offense, which is UCLA had a plan late in the game and they executed. Arizona didn't appear to have a plan.
Yeah, and that's what. Now let's talk about a little bit of the free-flowing motion offense. Then, I mean, that works if you've got the right personnel, and it's kind of like we were talking about before. But if you also don't have necessarily guys that can make plays off the bounce, or you don't have shooters, it's not nearly as effective at that point. Then, I mean, you've got basically in this, you've got to have one of the two. Now, ideally, you're like UConn for the last 2 years, and you got both, and it doesn't matter. But if I don't have anybody that can really make plays off the bounce, and I don't have shooters outside of ADO, that's always going to be a little bit difficult when you're telling guys that, and one of the things I like about Tommy is he gives his guys freedom. But if you're giving dudes like me freedom, it might not necessarily work as well. Yeah. Although I could beat Ben One White easily in basketball, so I'm not going to go that far. Ben One White, go ahead.
Oh man, that hurts. No,
Yes.
I think that's very fair, and I think it goes back to the criticism of Lloyd in the sense that, okay, you've got to make it work with what you have, and going back to even a couple of years ago, a lot of similarities, right? When we talk about that free flowing offense, and you see what you're seeing right now. I mean, think about the Crisa Tubelis team. It was kind of the same thing. Guys would just swing the ball around the perimeter, and there wasn't a lot of guys who could take really anybody off the bounce and do things, which is why they lost to Princeton the way they did, right? So I think Lloyd at this point has shown, like, that's the type of offense he's going to run. And whether or not you have the personnel or players to fit it perfectly, we're still going to move forward with it. I think there's got to be a pivot off of that. I think some things have to change. But again, when people criticize Lloyd, I'm not in the camp of, Lloyd's a bad coach or Arizona would be better without Tommy Lloyd, not at all. But I think the criticism there is warranted when you talk about, okay, how are we adapting to the personnel that we have right now? And again, it's a tough task because it's not like we're adapting for a positive reason, right? You've got to change some things because guys have clearly regressed. Guys that you brought in that you didn't have last year are clearly not good enough in the situation and spots that we're in right now. And you just got to find a way to fix all of that.
Yeah, Brogan.
Yeah, we're going to find a lot about Tommy as a coach, and in a way, I think this is good for him. I mean,
this off season, especially, we're going to find out for sure.
Yeah, a couple things, right? The first thing is when you're the winningest coach in the history of basketball in your first 2 seasons, it's easy to just say, "Hey, I don't really have to change much. I just do my thing, and my system's awesome, and it wins." This is going to force him to have to become a better basketball coach because he's going to have to adapt and adjust and change his style. Which, again, down the road, players are different, schemes are different. He'll be able to adjust more. And then this offseason is going to be huge offseason for him because this is where, when you look at guys like Koa Pete and Braden Burries and Elijah Arenas, they're not going to not come to Arizona because they lost 12 games in a season. That's not how recruiting works.
Right. And I wanted to talk about that next. I don't look at that Sean Miller team that brought in. Now, again, that team turned out to kind of suck, but the Nico Mannion, Josh Green, Zeke Randolph,
Zeke Naji,
Zeke Naji and Brandon Randolph.
Yeah. I mean, those dudes came in like after we had a terrible season with the Brandon Randolph team. People aren't basing it on that. And if anything, and this is what I wanted to get to here, and I've been talking about this for a while now. The one thing, and I think somebody on the message board said this, but I think it's a very good point, is that this is the most below the rim team that I've seen. I think in college basketball, you've got to have a couple dudes. Like when you have Tyler Bilodeau, who, by the way, would have looked very good in the Arizona uniform, but when he's clearly the best athlete out there in the front court, I mean, that's generally not something that Arizona you're accustomed to, whether that was, Christian Coloco, Keyshawn Johnson, whatever the case may be. They've got to get more athletic up front. That's just got to be, because it just gives you more of a margin for error there, Ben White and Mr. John Brogan.
Yeah, and that's the way Arizona's played the last couple of years, right? You've had Ballo, you've had guys up front who can give you that consistency. And, we talked about when Ballo left, it's not going to be easy to replace somebody who is pretty much close to a double-double every single night. It may not look pretty, you may not notice it at times, but that scoring and that level of consistency and physicality down low is there. And it's missing right now because Kribis is hurt. He's not nearly the player that maybe some people thought he would be in terms of taking that next step. And then Townsend is your 4, which is a really scary thing right now. He's already undersized. He doesn't rebound very well. At least last year, he was able to score like we saw in the tournament. I think Brogan brought that up earlier in the show, but you can't even get that out of him, right? And I think the thought was, okay, if our guard play can be really good and Love can have 15 to 20 every single game, Bradley can take that next step, continue to be the player he is, but at least be a double-digit scorer by getting to the free throw line and getting some good looks. And on top of that, Townsend comes in, does what he does. We should be okay. And then Lewis, takes that next step, does a little bit more offensively, but that just clearly isn't his game at this point. I think you're relying on all of those things to happen. And the biggest problem you have is not one of them has manifested. Love is not consistent. Bradley is, to be fair, but at the same time, there's still some there left to be desired with the guards because Love's not consistent. Lewis isn't giving you quite what you need from him. He hasn't taken that next step. And down low, your front court is just a mess, man. I mean, it's a nightmare because you don't have the size you don't have the scoring. And more importantly, without Kribis, you don't have the size. Awaka got the start because, quite frankly, there was really nobody else to go to, but he even struggled at times. So when you've got really no true big, you're not going to win a game like this, unfortunately, with the way that you were shooting and the way that you were turning the ball over.
Yeah. All right. Now, there's one thing, too, that we also need to discuss as well before. Again, we got about 15 minutes left. Also, Ben White, I want to get your thought on the tight ends and the offensive coach that was hired. But first, all right, everybody, get the wave going. The Gila River Resorts and Casinos wave. Get the wave. John Brogan, let me see you get the wave in there. Come on. Woohoo. Woo-hoo. Funny. Good stuff. The Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Ben White, what kind of experience is it?
It is, unlike Arizona basketball right now, fun and immersive.
That is the way that it is. The Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Get the wave. We only have one wave in here. Only 2 waves at this point. Come on, check it out. All right, yes. Rick Trimmer, the great Rick Trimmer in there. What a great name. Gila River Resorts and Casinos. A fun, immersive experience, just like Ben White. Go there and check it out. Ben White, have you been to the Gila River Resorts and Casinos?
I have, yes. One time.
Yes. All right, yes. At the Gila River Resorts and also the Rate Bowl. What is this? The Rate Bowl. Where do you guys think the Rate Bowl is? Where do you guys think the Rate Bowl is?
Considering the city picture in the logo, I would say.
Oh,
the Great Valley of the Sun, Phoenix,
I was going to
Arizona.
say, take a lucky guess. Yes, the Rate Bowl. Yes, Gay. All right, here's the deal with Rate Bowl, though. Downtown Phoenix is popping around the holidays. Get ready to huddle up at Chase Field for college football postseason as the Rate Bowl kicks off December 26th at 3:30. Got family in town for holidays? Huddle up and bring them. Game tickets, premium experience, and reserved parkings are all available. Get yours now at ratebowl.com. Now, it's also time for the Desert Financial Credit Union to buy the numbers, my friend. Buy the numbers. Desert Financial Credit Union. All right. Desert Financial Credit Union, the #1 credit union in all of Arizona. This is a game that Arizona shot 13%. Wow. The difference in that game is 22 turnovers. It's really that simple. UCLA didn't play well. Arizona turned the ball over 22 times. Guys, that's pretty much the way that it is.
Yeah, hard to score when you're giving the other team the ball, right? And again, in the first half, it was bad because they were live ball turnovers. UCLA was just kind of just taking the ball from Arizona. Anytime we tried to drive to the bucket, they would dig in, strip the ball, go. And they converted like 14 points or something like that off turnovers in the first half, which in a game in the 50s, points are hard to come by. Getting easy buckets like that is kind of what helped UCLA. But then Arizona started turning UCLA over, and then we got to the last 4 minutes, and rather than score, we chose to start turning the ball over again.
We decided to start turning the ball over. Yes, that's exactly.
We so good in the first half, we tried again late in the game.
Sometimes you want to take the path less traveled to be able to get where where all of this is. Okay. Now, Kevin L. Thomas, do we have anything left? Oh, the Back the A performance by a NUTRL player of the game. Again, powered by NUTRL. All right, now, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 steals. I like this guy a lot. He's been the one player on the team that I think has played up to our hopes, to our expectations. Basically everything. Jaden Bradley, we like Jaden Bradley a great deal. This is very simple. Now, let's get to a little bit of Arizona football, because who doesn't want to talk Arizona football here? But we have got Arizona has got their new offensive coordinator. Now, before I get to John Brogan, Benwin White, what would you say, how would you pronounce his name, his full name?
His last name or the whole name? I mean,
well, I'm guessing you could probably figure out. I'm guessing you could probably figure the Seth part out. But
yeah,
how do you pronounce the last name?
I would say Doge.
You and John Brogan, you two are just idiots sometimes. Deji, duh.
Hey, I said the French version was Doge.
Yeah, that's funny. You get a little bit of credit on that one. Yes, I like it. Listen, what I watched this past season was yuck. I didn't. There's a couple things I liked about him. He's young. That means a lot to me. He's also, he's got a vision. If you guys watch the presser, you could tell he's excited to be here. I could see where players would want to play for him. I like it, man. And again, maybe my expectations are just super, super low and anything clears the bar. But guys, I came away from that saying, all right, let's go. I mean, I don't expect Arizona to be good, but it could have been a lot worse than that. What say you guys?
Well, let me
go ahead, Brogan.
I want to just clear up one thing. Brent Brennan took over a 10-win football team with NFL players and one of the best QBs in the country and broke it. Yes. Tommy Lloyd did not take over one of the best rosters in the country and break it. Okay, so let's stop comparing Brent Brennan to Tommy Lloyd.
We need to stop comparing that crap, because you immediately, I get being frustrated and having a few concerns about Lloyd. Totally get it. But let's not compare the two, please.
Yeah,
that's
a lot of control. Yes. Now, when it comes to Arizona's offense with football, assuming they get some guys in the portal that can actually block, there was no creativity out of the offense. They took what Fafita was good at, which is being able to read the defense pre-snap, make some quick reads and some early throws, spread the ball around, and keep the ball moving, scramble a little bit, make some plays. They took all of that away, and I don't know what they had him doing outside of not being able to be as efficient as he was the year before. So what I like about Deji coming in is he's going to play with tempo. He's going to have a lot of short passing game stuff. And assuming he can talk Fafita into staying, I think you're going to see the last year's version of Fafita, or the Fish version of Fafita as opposed to the Brennan version. And that's going to be exciting to see on offense. Like, we were late in the play clock a bunch of times, running delayed handoffs every other play, basically just dropping back to pass for 4 seconds and chunking it up to T-Mac. So I expect the offense to be a lot more dynamic, and the tempo will be the most noticeable thing, I think, with Deji coming in.
Yes, I just want an identity. I don't care what it is. I want an identity. That is somebody, and he was able to articulate it. Benwin White, now, let me ask you this. There's going to be a lot of spread formation concepts here. What does that mean for your favorite position, the tight end, with the spread formation?
Well, it could certainly mean we go back to the Rich Rod route of, oh yeah, we'd love to use the tight end every single year, and the tight end unfortunately does not get involved that much. But no, I in all seriousness, I think considering the circumstances that you were in, it's a great hire. the background is there, the vision is there. Obviously, he's spent some time outside of Marshall at some big time programs. He has spent some time at USC, and he's been around the block.
Wow.
I feel like we kind of beat there for a minute.
Holy moly, what the heck was that? I've never seen that on the show. And around the block, 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 But yes, I'm like I said, that's just what I want. What happened there? That was bizarre.
Well, I think what you hope is Dino Babers was the de facto O coordinator, and then it turned into the tight end coach. I already forgot his name.
Matt Adkins.
I think what you hope with Deji is that, given the fact that he called plays at a school like Marshall and was super effective, won their conference, all those things, and the fact that he's 36 years old, and he was on the West Coast, like, you're going to assume he's got some good connections. And I'd be, go out on a limb here and say he's probably a more dynamic recruiter than Dino Babers is at this point.
I would assume.
And so I think you'll see some good stuff from him in the portal and who they're able to, what kind of talent they're able to attract. But again, his focus has to be, can I get Noah back? And if I can, great. Then I can figure out how to make the offense go, because every offense is easier when you have a good quarterback, for sure.
Ben, you're going to have to go back and listen to what just happened there.
That
was
have
amazing.
No idea what just
around
happened,
the block,
but...
around the block, around the block, around the block. The only thing you were missing was throwing up the dub, man. West side, Ben. All right, Ben One White, what were you going to say?
I have no idea what just happened, but no, I think Brogan said it all. I think the guy has an identity. He has spent some time at some big time programs. They are going to spread the ball around. I think they're going to make things easier for Fafita. Is the personnel going to be good? Probably not. Is it going to be a good football team? Probably not. But at least, Mike, it'll be somewhat entertaining to watch, I would hope. I mean, that's kind of the bar what we're at right now. But,
dude, we've been saying this from day one.
I just need something, man. Just something. Like,
I've been saying this from day one, and has everybody else that's smart. If we are going to lose games, let's lose and be entertained. That is why I have such a soft spot for Rich Rod. Because if we lost games, even if we had nose tackles that looked like me, we were going to lose games 52-38. And you know what? Darn it, it was going to be fun to watch it and at least entertain me. If you're going to lose games, do not be boring. This was the double the hat trick. Is the hat trick 3? The hat trick's 3,
hat trick's
right?
3.
Dang it! What can I put in there? All right, because we stunk and we were boring. There's got to be another thing.
Double whammy.
The double whammy. Yes, the double whammy, just like the tight end. But entertain me. That's all I ask for. We have, as Arizona football fans, we have very, very low expectations going forward. Entertain me. All right, guys. On that note, though, Brogan,
Mike, real quick, am I about to become a meme on the internet, man?
Oh, that was great. We need to get. Hey, if somebody else could cut that up, that would be amazing. Hey, Kevin L. Thomas, can you cut that up? That would be amazing if you would.
Oh gosh.
You want me, Mr. Ben One White? Do you want me to throw a little beat behind that or what?
You do what you want, man.
100%. Yes. Around the block, around the block, around the block, around the block. Okay, guys, this comes down to this team's just not very good. There's the players have regressed. The players that you need to be good aren't good. Again, we just summed up the last hour in about 5 seconds. Brogan, Ben One White, what say you guys to close this one out?
To me, the season kind of hangs on Caleb Love. If he continues to be disinterested, Caleb Love, which is wild, then it's going to be a long year. If somehow he figures out how to be more aggressive and put some points on the board, then they're going to win a bunch of games to close out the season. But to me, it's going to be about him and can he flip the switch?
Yeah. Ben One White.
All on Caleb Love. He's been handed the keys here the last couple of years. Arizona passed up some opportunities to bring some players in by bringing Love back, and he needs to show why Arizona was right in bringing him back, and it's on him to figure this out and make it happen.
All right. On that note, though, this is the life we chose. We've been through it. We'll get through it again. But for Mr. John Brogan, for the tight end whisperer, the king of the spread formation, Mr. Ben One White, we're going to get you on sometime this week. Dick Wilson in the background and all of the great people there. Very, very much appreciate you guys. As Drones for Bones says, this team sucks, and I'm merely Mike Luke. You've been listening to the AZ Wildcats postgame.
We all silly like the mayor.